So it's morning time and you guys just having a cup of coffee as usual, right? Do you ever wonder how many cups of coffee you drink every day? And how is it affecting your body? I know guys, no one ever thinks this much deep about drink coffee. I get it, but it can have some serious effects on your body, positively and negatively.
Hey guys, how are you? Hope you all are doing good. So today let's discuss about coffee. Is coffee good or bad? Let's check out. The well-being impacts of coffee are dubious. In spite of what you might have heard, there are a lot of beneficial things to be said regarding espresso. It's high in cell reinforcement and connected to a diminished gamble of numerous illnesses. In any case, it additionally contains caffeine, an energizer that can bring on some issues in certain individuals and upset rest. This video investigates espresso and its well-being impacts, checking both the upsides and negatives out. Here are some positives related to drinking coffee. Number 1. Espresso is wealthy in a considerable lot of the supplements normally found in espresso beans. Espresso contains caffeine, a stimulant that can enhance brain function and boost metabolism. Caffeine is the most regularly consumed psychoactive substance on the planet. Soda pops, tea, and chocolate all contain caffeine. Yet espresso is the greatest source. The caffeine content of a solitary cup can go from 30 to 300 milligrams. Yet the normal cup is somewhere near 90 to 100 milligrams. Caffeine is a known energizer in your mind. It obstructs the capacity of an inhibitory synapse called adenosine. By obstructing adenosine, caffeine increments movement in your mind and delivers different synapses like norepinephrine and dopamine. This diminishes sluggishness and causes you to feel more ready. Various investigations exhibit that caffeine can prompt a momentary lift in mind work, further developing mindset, response time, cautiousness, and general mental capacity. All things considered, nonetheless, a portion of these impacts are possible present moment. Assuming you drink espresso consistently, you will develop a resistance, and with it, the impacts will be less strong. Espresso may protect your brain from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Alzheimer's sickness is the world's most normal neurodegenerative illness and a main source of dementia. Studies have shown that espresso consumers have up to a 65% lower hazard of fostering Alzheimer's infection. Parkinson's is the second most normal neurodegenerative infection and is brought about by the demise of dopamine-creating neurons in the mind. Espresso consumers have a 32–60% lower hazard of Parkinson's illness. The more espresso individuals drink, the lower the gamble. An average 8-ounce mug of espresso contains vitamin B2, 11% of the DV, vitamin B5, 6% of the DV, vitamin B1, 2% of the DV, vitamin B3, 2% of the DV, folate, 1% of the DV, manganese, 3% of the DV, potassium, 3% of the DV, magnesium, 2% of the DV, phosphorus, 1% of the DV. This may not appear to be a ton, however, take a stab at duplicating it with the quantity of cups you drink each day. It can amount to a critical piece of your day-by-day supplement consumption. In any case, espresso truly sparkles in its high happy of cancer prevention agents. Indeed, the commonplace Western eating regimen gives a bigger number of cancer prevention agents from espresso than from leafy foods joined. Espresso drinkers have a much lower risk of type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is described by raised glucose levels because of protection from the impacts of insulin. This normal illness has expanded 10 times in years and presently influences more than 300 million individuals. Strangely, concentrates on show that espresso consumers might have a 23–67% diminished hazard of fostering this condition. One audit of 18 investigations and 457,922 individuals related every day-by-day mug of espresso with a 7% decreased hazard of type 2 diabetes. Espresso drinkers have a lower risk of liver diseases. Your liver is an amazingly significant organ that has many various capacities in your body. It is touchy to abundance liquor and fructose admission. The end phase of liver harm is called cirrhosis and includes the vast majority of your liver transforming into scar tissue. Espresso consumers have up to an 84% lower hazard of creating cirrhosis, with the most grounded impact for the individuals who drink at least 4 cups each day. Liver malignant growth is likewise normal. It is the subsequent driving reason for malignant growth passing around the world. Espresso consumers have up to a 40% lower hazard of liver malignant growth. Espresso drinkers have a much lower risk of depression and suicide. Melancholy is the world's most normal mental issue and prompts a fundamentally diminished personal satisfaction. In one Harvard study from 2011, Individuals who drank the most espresso had a 20% lower hazard of becoming discouraged. In one survey of 3 investigations, individuals who drank at least 4 cups of espresso each day were 53% less inclined to end it all. So, this were the goods of coffee. Now let's take a look to its bad side. Espresso and tea are inconceivably sound drinks. Most sorts contain caffeine, a substance that might support your temperament, digestion, and mental and actual execution. Studies have additionally shown that it's safe for the vast majority when consumed in low to direct sums. Be that as it may, high dosages of caffeine might have terrible and, surprisingly, risky secondary effects. Research has shown that your qualities impact your resilience to it. Some can consume significantly more caffeine than others without encountering adverse consequences. Additionally, people who aren't utilized to caffeine might encounter manifestations in the wake of consuming what is normally viewed as a moderate portion. These are some side effects of drinking too much caffeine. 1. Tension. Caffeine is known to increment readiness. It works by impeding the impacts of adenosine, a mind substance that causes you to feel tired. Simultaneously, it sets off the arrival of adrenaline, the acute stress chemical related with expanded energy. Notwithstanding, at higher dosages, these impacts might turn out to be more articulated, prompting uneasiness and anxiety. Indeed, caffeine-actuated nervousness jumble is one of 4 caffeine-related conditions recorded in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is distributed by the American Psychiatric Association. Very high day-by-day admissions of 1 milligrams or more each day have been accounted for to cause apprehension, unsteadiness, and comparable indications in a great many people, though even a moderate admission might prompt comparative impacts in caffeine-touchy people. Furthermore, unobtrusive portions have been displayed to cause fast breathing and increment feelings of anxiety when consumed at a time. One review in 25 solid men found that the people who ingested around 300 milligrams of caffeine experienced over 2 times the pressure of the individuals who took a fake treatment. Curiously, feelings of anxiety were comparable among ordinary and less continuous caffeine customers, proposing the compound might have a similar impact on feelings of anxiety whether or not you drink it routinely. All things considered, these outcomes are starter. Espresso's caffeine content is exceptionally factored. For reference, an enormous espresso at Starbucks contains around 330 milligrams of caffeine. Assuming you notice that you regularly feel anxious or unsteady, it very well may be smart to take a gander at your caffeine admission and cut it back. 2. Sleep deprivation. Caffeine's capacity to assist with people stay alert is one of its most valued characteristics. Then again, a lot of caffeine can make it challenging to get sufficient supportive rest. Investigations have discovered that higher caffeine consumption seems to build how much time it takes to nod off. It might likewise diminish absolute resting time, particularly in the older. On the other hand, low or moderate measures of caffeine don't appear to influence rest, especially in individuals considered great sleepers, or even those with self-revealed a sleeping disorder. You may not understand that an excess of caffeine is impeding your rest, assuming you misjudge how much caffeine you're taking in. Despite the fact that espresso and tea are the most thought wellsprings of caffeine, it is likewise found in pop, cocoa, caffeinated drinks, and a few kinds of prescription. For instance, an energy shot might contain up to 350 milligrams of caffeine, while some caffeinated drinks give as much as possible. Significantly, how much caffeine you can consume without influencing your rest will rely upon your hereditary qualities and different elements. Moreover, caffeine consumed later in the day might impede rest on the grounds that its belongings can require a few hours to wear off. Research has shown that while caffeine stays in your framework for a normal of 5 hours, the time span might go from 1.5 hours to 9 hours, contingent upon the individual. One review examined what the circumstance of caffeine ingestion means for rest. Analysts gave 12 sound grown-ups 400 milligrams of caffeine either 6 hours before sleep time, 3 hours before sleep time, or promptly preceding sleep time. Both the time it took every one of the 3 gatherings to nod off and the time they spent conscious around evening time expanded altogether. These outcomes recommend that it's essential to focus on both the sum and timing of caffeine to upgrade your rest. 3. Stomach-related issues. Many individuals observe that a morning mug of espresso gets their entrails going. Espresso's diuretic impact has been credited to the arrival of gastrin, a chemical the stomach creates that paces up movement in the colon. Likewise, decaffeinated espresso has been displayed to deliver a comparative reaction. In any case, caffeine itself likewise appears to animate defecations by expanding peristalsis, the compressions that move food through your intestinal system. Considering this impact, It's not shocking that enormous dosages of caffeine might prompt diarrheas or even looseness of the bowels in certain individuals, despite the fact that for a long time espresso was accepted to cause stomach ulcers. A huge investigation of in excess of 8,000 individuals didn't track down any connection between the two. Then again, a few examinations recommend that energized drinks might deteriorate gastroesophageal reflux sickness in certain individuals. This is by all accounts particularly valid for espresso. In a little report, when 5 solid grown-ups drank energized water, they encountered an unwinding of the muscle that keeps stomach substance from climbing into the throat. The sign of GERD, since espresso can effectively affect stomach-related work. You might need to scale back the sum you drink or change to tea assuming that you experience any issues. So guys, this was a detailed video on how coffee affects your body. I hope you find it helpful and share it with someone who needs to see this. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to get videos for improving your health. Until next video guys, stay healthy.